Let's quickly open this up. Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson of the BJP, along with the leader of the Congress, Vivek Bansal, joining us on the broadcast. I want to first up go across to Mr. Vivek Bansal, because it's interesting, Mr. Bansal, that Pramod Tiwari spoke of the Mahagathbandhan, spoke of how several in the opposition today have decided to come together to take on the BJP. They've apparently come with a name as well, PDA. Whether or not it's going to turn out to be PDA is going to perhaps be confirmed in the next meeting, which is going to take place in Simla. But why is this entire attack that's coming in from the BJP being seen as a diversionary tactic? I want to first up understand this.
Definitely, I would like to first of all say two things. I would reiterate the fact that this is a diversionary tactics on the part of the present government, because of their failures, because of the misdeeds which have been taking place, because of the fact that democracy is being throttled today on some pretext of the other sedition laws, and sedition is invoked at the drop of a hat. And secondly, I would like to say, as far as democracy, as far as emergency was concerned, we have to keep two things in mind. First of all, that Congress government has apologized again and again for the imposition of the emergency. Secondly, we have to keep in her everything has a time frame. We have to keep this thing in mind that democracy tends to evolve, democracy tends to mature at a point of time. At that point of time, only 17 years had elapsed, and we can cite so many examples. Not that I'm throwing an excuse for that. Definitely, it was not warranted, and time and again we have apologized for that. And secondly, I would like to say that Mrs. Indira Gandhi herself had convened the elections, had called for the election. That was her commitment for democracy. Secondly, what is happening in the present day, I would like to bring to your notice that today is definitely it's an undeclared emergency. What we saw in Unnao, yesterday a journalist had been killed. He had been time and again, he met Mr. Akhilesh Yadav and expressed his that he's feeling a threat from BJP MLA because of illegal mining and all, but no cognizance was taken.
Mr. Bansal, it's interesting how you've put this across, because on one hand, your humble self is of course speaking of how it's most regrettable what we saw back in 1975, and you're saying the Congress has been repeatedly apologetic, but can there be any denial to how the opposition collectively was jailed, how the media was gagged, how the constitution was subverted? There can be no denial to it. It's very interesting that today, despite the truth that everyone in the world has seen what happened in 1975, it's interesting how the Congress is calling this era an undeclared emergency. Tuhin Sinha, how would you respond to Mr. Bansal?
Well, good evening, everybody. The emergency was clearly the darkest chapter in independent India's history. But, look at what triggered it. It was the personal fear of Mrs. Gandhi that she would lose, power, because the Allahabad High Court had disqualified her based upon certain discrepancies that was discovered in her previous election. To save their own power, they imposed emergency, but more importantly, the emergency mindset never died. So when 3,000 people were killed in Delhi riots 7 years later, Rajiv Gandhi would brazenly say that ek bada ped jab girta hai to zameen hilta hai. 30 years later, Sam Pitroda still says hua to hua. And Rahul Gandhi, of all people, goes abroad, and defames the country, says democracy is in danger in India. So I think this is the corruption, the ideological corruption of the Congress party, which never acknowledges that the only time democracy was killed, marauded and trampled upon in India was when the Congress was in power.
Okay.
And about time they I think apology or not is beyond that. We're many years because like so many lives were wasted, so many careers were wasted. There were people who spent 1.5 years in jail. So you can't give the careers back, but at least Rahul Gandhi should apologize for all the atrocious and baseless statements that he makes abroad, saying democracy is in danger in India. I'll give you a simple example that shows why democracy is flourishing. The person who could not save his own Lok Sabha constituency eventually found a way out. He's still an elected member of parliament. Based upon disqualification from a court ruling, he is disqualified. He still has the option of...
What you're saying, Tuhin Sinha, is something that is being endorsed not just by those in the BJP or the likes of you. It's also being endorsed by the likes of Joe Biden when he hails the Indian democracy. As we speak, we saw what came of that meeting between President Joe Biden and the Prime Minister. But one aspect I want to touch upon, and I want Mr. Bansal to come in on this. Mr. Bansal, it's interesting that the Prime Minister today has remembered the critics of emergency, and he in fact remembered Mulayam Singh Yadav. He says he was a key soldier of democracy during emergency. His son today comes out to say this is undeclared emergency instead. So anything political parties are willing to do in order to take down the BJP in 2024, is this just political opportunity that they're all resorting to?
Well, in politics always there is opportunism. So if you say that it is opportunity, everybody, be it may BJP, what had been BJP had been allying with people with parties whose policies was diametrically opposed to that. Be it may 91, 89, be it may 77. So don't come with this that it is opportunistic politics. It's basically every party wants to come on to power, and as far as our friend was again BJP acolyte, the spokesperson was saying this, that they are very much irked by the fact that Rahul Gandhi ji is taking them head on, be it may abroad or be it may in the country itself. They are very disconcerted by the fact that Rahul Gandhi says that democracy is being threatened if he is speaking abroad. Let me say it, and I repeat it time and again, that with this globalization and the fact that he's addressing the Indian diaspora, he is addressing the Indian electorate. Now we have NRIs who have the voting rights. So what is wrong in it? The moment you utter a single word in this country, that is global all of a sudden. And the fact that he's time and again,
okay,
I again
but
say,
Mr. Bansal,
they have very strong reservations.
Do you also remember what the Prime Minister said while addressing the joint session of the US Congress, when he saw Democrats and Republicans alike take part as far as his speech is concerned? He said that in occasions such as this, we defeat our political interests and come together. So that was stated by him while he was addressing the US Congress. Tuhin Sinha, quick 30 seconds to you before I wrap up.
Rahul Gandhi was reminded by
let me just say, we have an example.
I am supposed to respond. Please calm down. Rahul Gandhi was reminded by none other than, a colleague or a journalist from the time of Nehru, who clearly told him that I'm a great admirer of Nehru and Indira Gandhi, and your behavior would not have been accepted even by them. Please don't defame your country abroad. So if the present Congress party endorses the ugly behavior of Rahul Gandhi, wherein he, creates aspersions in the minds of the world, then I think good luck to the Congress party. But democracy will always be robust in this country. The first example of a welfare state is contained in Ram Rajya, which is many thousand years ago. Throughout, we have espoused democracy, and barring the Congress party, which is on the verge of extinction, nobody else feels that democracy.
Okay, this debate doesn't end with the 48 years of emergency. Mr. Bansal, we're running out of time, so I'm not going to be able to come back to you. But thank you, both of you, for joining us this evening. We head into a very quick break with that. We'll be right back.